A storm is gathering in the Middle East, one that has been brewing for decades. We're talking about the shadow war between Iran and Israel, a conflict fought not with open declarations and marching armies, but through proxies, cyber attacks, and covert operations. But now, the shadows are receding, and the possibility of a direct, full-scale confrontation looms larger than ever before. What would an all-out war between these two regional powerhouses actually look like? And more importantly, how would it reshape the Middle East and the entire world? This isn't just a regional squabble. A direct conflict could trigger a global economic crisis, redraw alliances, and set the stage for a new world order. So, let's break down what's at stake and explore the terrifying, world-altering consequences of an Iran-Israel war. First, let's understand how we got here. The animosity wasn't always this intense. Before the 1979 Islamic Revolution, Iran and Israel actually had a pragmatic, if quiet, relationship. But the revolution changed everything. The new leadership in Tehran declared Israel the little Satan, an illegitimate state, and its destruction became a core tenet of their ideology. From that moment on, a Cold War began. Iran started building what is known as the Axis of Resistance, a network of allied governments and militant groups across the Middle East, including Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas and Islamic Jihad in Palestine, and various militias in Syria and Iraq. This network serves as Iran's forward defense, allowing it to project power and pressure Israel without engaging in direct combat. Think of it as a strategic buffer zone, a ring of fire surrounding Israel. Israel, for its part, has never taken this threat lightly. Its strategy has been a mix of military superiority, intelligence gathering, and what they call the war between the wars. This involves hundreds, if not thousands, of targeted strikes, assassinations of key Iranian scientists and commanders, and cyber attacks aimed at crippling Iran's nuclear program and military capabilities. You've probably heard about the Stuxnet virus, a brilliant and devastating piece of malware that sabotaged Iranian nuclear centrifuges. That's a prime example of this shadow war. Each side has been landing blows, carefully calculated to avoid triggering a full-scale response. But with every strike and counterstrike, the risk of miscalculation grows. A single attack that goes too far, a single red line crossed, could ignite the entire region. So, what could be the spark? The most likely trigger is Iran's nuclear program. Israel has repeatedly stated it will not allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. If Israeli intelligence believes Tehran is on the verge of a breakthrough, the point of no return, they might launch a preemptive strike against Iran's nuclear facilities. These facilities, like Natanz and Fordo, are heavily fortified and buried deep underground, making any attack incredibly complex. Israel would likely use a combination of its most advanced F-35 fighter jets, bunker-busting bombs, and sophisticated cyber warfare to even attempt such a mission. It would be a massive high-risk operation, and Iran's response would be immediate and ferocious. They wouldn't just sit back. The first thing to expect is a missile barrage. Iran has a vast arsenal of ballistic missiles capable of reaching any part of Israel, while Israel has one of the world's most advanced air defense systems, including the Iron Dome, David's Sling, and the Arrow system. A massive coordinated salvo of hundreds of missiles could overwhelm it. No system is foolproof. Some missiles would inevitably get through, causing significant damage and casualties in major cities like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. But Iran's main punch wouldn't come from Iran itself. It would come from its proxies. Hezbollah in Lebanon is the crown jewel of the Axis of Resistance. They are estimated to have over 150,000 rockets and missiles, many of them precision-guided, all aimed at Israel. A war with Iran would almost certainly mean a war with Hezbollah, opening up a devastating northern front for Israel. This wouldn't be like previous conflicts. Hezbollah is far more powerful than Hamas. We're talking about a conflict that could see thousands of rockets fired into Israel every single day, paralyzing the country. Simultaneously, militias in Syria and Iraq could launch attacks, and Hamas in Gaza would likely join the fray, forcing Israel to fight a multi-front war on a scale it has never experienced before. The battlefield wouldn't be limited to land and air. The sea would become a critical front. A significant portion of the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow choke point controlled by Iran. In a full-blown war, Iran could attempt to close the strait using mines, anti-ship missiles, and swarms of fast attack boats. This single act would send shockwaves through the global economy. Oil prices would skyrocket, potentially doubling or tripling overnight. Think about what that means for you. The price of gas, the cost of goods, everything would go up. This would trigger a global recession, impacting every country on Earth. The Persian Gulf, the Red Sea, and the Eastern Mediterranean would become active war zones, disrupting global shipping and trade routes far beyond just oil. And what about the United States? The US has been Israel's staunchest ally. It's almost inconceivable that Washington could stay on the sidelines. American bases throughout the Middle East in Qatar, Bahrain, the UAE would become immediate targets for Iran and its proxies. This would drag the United States directly into the conflict, transforming it from a regional war into a major international crisis. A US intervention would dramatically increase the military pressure on Iran, but it would also escalate the conflict to a terrifying new level, with unpredictable consequences. Other world powers, like Russia and China, who have their own complex relationships with Iran, would be forced to react. They might not join the fighting directly, but their diplomatic and economic moves could shape the outcome and lead to a dangerous global standoff. Reminiscent of the Cold War, the human cost would be catastrophic. In Israel, daily life would grind to a halt under a constant rain of rockets. In Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza, areas used by Iran's proxies, Israeli retaliatory strikes would be devastating. And in Iran itself, airstrikes on military, nuclear, and infrastructure targets would cause immense destruction. The number of civilian casualties on all sides would be heartbreakingly high. We would witness a humanitarian crisis on a scale not seen in the Middle East for generations, with millions of refugees fleeing the violence, further destabilizing neighboring countries like Jordan and Egypt. Even if the direct fighting eventually stopped, the world would be a different place. The Middle East would be fundamentally reconfigured. Would the current regime in Iran survive such a devastating war? Perhaps not, but what replaces it could be even more chaotic. Would Israel emerge stronger, having dealt a blow to its greatest enemy, or would it be a Pyrrhic victory, leaving it isolated and exhausted? The old alliances would be shattered. Arab nations who have recently normalized relations with Israel, like the UAE and Bahrain, would be in an impossible position, caught between their new partner and the anger of their own populations. The conflict would create a power vacuum, which extremist groups would be all too happy to fill. The focus on the Iran-Israel war would divert resources and attention away from fighting remnants of ISIS and other terrorist organizations, giving them the space to regroup and launch a new wave of terror. The world that emerges from the smoke and rubble of an Iran-Israel war would be more volatile, more dangerous, and more uncertain. The global economy would be in shambles, new and unpredictable alliances would form, and the threat of nuclear proliferation might actually increase as other nations decide they need the ultimate deterrent to survive in this new, harsher world. This isn't a prediction, it's a warning. The path to de-escalation is narrow and fraught with challenges, but the alternative is too horrifying to contemplate. The Shadow War, as dangerous as it is, has been governed by a certain set of unwritten rules. The moment those rules are broken, we all step into a new and terrifying world. It's a future we must all hope our leaders have the wisdom to avoid. Thanks for watching. If you found this analysis insightful, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the events shaping our world. Stay informed and stay safe.